Welcome to the Daily Edge. Steve, Jake, Mark, we are the Noodlebergs. Let's find our edge, which always starts with the affirmation, I am defined by my habits, not the results. Persistence pays off, and no matter how long it takes, I have the choice to use every setback as a setup for my moment of greatness. Ooh. So my question to you guys is, does previous performance affect current or future performance?
You can answer that question a couple of different ways. I think the first thing is yes, it does. Does it affect it positively or negatively is really the question. So yes, it affects if you learn from it, if you take experience, if you let it bury you, which is what happens to people, and you have ghosts. It's negative.
It creates an expectation, I think, is the simplest way. If your past performance was shit and you're known as a really good player, then people are going to expect a better performance. And I think if you're any type of competitor, you'll expect that from yourself. Is that based on your previous performance, it either validates what you know to be true, which is I'm very good and I must continue at this, or I did not perform up to my expectation, and therefore the new expectation is that I need to play well. So either way, if you treat yourself like a high-performing athlete, then ultimately your previous performance is a barometer for where you're at, I think.
Interesting. You know,
look at you sitting there so coy, by the way.
You know I'm going to take the counter stance. I'm just waiting. Just waiting.
Wait. In the NBA and the NFL, teams that lose come back to win. I mean, a lot of times, the Chicago Bulls lost before they won.
Why are we wearing green today? What are we talking about?
Well, for sure, right? Rory McIlroy created an unbelievable moment for golf and for sports. And he overcame 16 years of failing at this,
he would say
winning
14.
The Masters.
He said 14 was his number. He said 14 years in the making.
Yeah, but it's really something like you can't just discount the fact that
he talked about being up at the Masters 14 years ago, and really that being his first, in his opinion, the first time that he really put himself in a position to win the tournament.
He could taste it and lost it.
And for the last 11 years, he's been going to Augusta trying to complete the career Grand Slam, which only 5 other golfers have done.
Where you look at that room of golfers and it's Phil Mickelson, it's the Tiger Woods, it's the Jack Nicklaus, it's
Arnold Palmer,
it's everybody, and you know that you belong in that group, and you belong in that group in every other golfing realm possible, but there you show up and you're still an outsider. Which is such a mental shift, I think, every year showing up for him.
So I was fortunate to work with Trevor Moawad for a long time. Rest in peace, Trevor. A wonderful mental conditioning coach who taught us what the concept of neutrality is. And it's something that him and Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson built a company around, Limitless Minds.
Getting to Neutral was his book.
And Trevor wrote a couple things. It Takes What It Takes was his first book. His second book was Getting to Neutral. And the concept is that really previous performance doesn't affect your current performance at all. It actually has nothing to do with your current performance or your future performance. The only thing that affects it is what you do in the moment. Now,
I think everyone's going to talk about Rory McIlroy and the Masters, but I mean, there was another story that happened on Thursday and Friday with Nick Dunlap, which I think is a testament that your previous performance has nothing to do with your current performance. For those of you who do not know, Nick Dunlap is a golfer, made the Masters, one of the top 50 golfers in the world who makes it, and shot a plus 18 on Thursday, which if you don't know anything about golf, I play bogey golf, and I'm not on the tour, and I play for much closer. He called it one of the most emotional experiences of his life. Long story short, and I might be wrong here, he shoots 1 under or 3 under the next day.
1 under the next day.
And Billy Horschel actually said to him when he was walking off and goes, "You earned a lot of respect here. I want you to know that."
Right.
You earned
most
a lot.
people would have expected him to
shoot this is where what you guys were talking about before, whether, if you're strong enough to lose and learn from it to use it to move it forward, or you have success. Sure, you do. But the reality of the moment is, and as human beings, we want to look at past experiences and project it into the future, which when it doesn't go well is a pitfall for human beings. It's what creates the quicksand effect, right? Like, I mean, shout out to Shane Falco, right? And in the replacements, he talks about it feels like quicksand. Yeah. When things start to go wrong,
Shane Falco.
It spirals.
Shane Falco reference, man. Woo!
I would like to tell you that those are rare, but honestly, there's a lot of replacements.
but that's real. I mean, it was obviously it's a movie line, but at any moment, and what happened with Dunlap was it was a quicksand effect. It spiraled. One thing led to another, and you can't seem to get out of your own way, even though your previous performances would said, hey, you're good enough to be here, or you're talented enough to be here. It happens in sales all the time. You lose a deal, and then all of a sudden, that other person doesn't call you back, and it goes a while where you can't find a meeting.
Here we go.
And you're like, oh man, here we go again. I'm on that spiral. The concept of neutrality allows you to, in the moment, go, what happened has nothing to do with what's going to happen. The only thing that will influence what's going to happen is what I do now. And whether you're a golfer and you're Rory McIlroy and you're overcoming years of failure or just double bogeying on 13 and giving up the lead, or whether you're in a sales and a performance role where you're going, oh, wow, that didn't go well, and I was really counting on that, and I needed that. None of it matters.
So here's what I would challenge you.
The only thing that matters is what happens right now.
Here's what I would challenge you. Mm-hmm. In the moment, yes. Hole to hole, yes. But after the game, history leaves clues. Success leaves clues. You do learn from, and that's what strategy is. Here's what happened in the moment. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. So I love the fact that you have to remain neutral. You threw an interception. Okay, the next play, I can't allow that to affect it.
Yep.
But once the game is over, once the round is over, I do think you need to look at it holistically and say, all right, I let my shit get lost.
Well, Rory is a great example of this, because something he said prior to the week starting was, if you look back at my previous performances here, I probably didn't handle it very well.
Correct.
I probably didn't control my emotions enough, or I probably didn't take responsibility for the moment enough. And he learned from that, and then got dealt moment after moment after moment that could have folded him like a lawn chair.
Oh my God.
Yet he didn't. He refocused himself and said, what do I need to do on the next shot in order to be successful, and found a way to do that.
Well, I go to like Novak Djokovic, who's talked about it his entire career, is probably one of the most mentally strong, but he actually talks about feeling it, like
right.
allowing himself to feel that emotion.
Right.
Like, and theirs are very quick, I think very different than golf, whereas you have more time, which you
have like 3 minutes to walk to the ball after you smack it in the water.
Right. Like, I don't know which is better, the quicker or the longer, but I do. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, Mark. Is that a protection mechanism that Moad created for Russell Wilson and all these other athletes? But like, I look at Tom Brady, he acted different in the Super Bowl than he did in the regular season game. Like, he felt that moment. Like, I don't think he was neutral. I think there was a charge that he was able to pull from.
And that emotion drove him.
And I'm curious that the best don't stay neutral. Is that they're able, in a time of despair, to get out of it, and a time of triumph to come back to neutral. And
so I think if we look at it as actual gears to be in, you would be correct.
Right.
But as human beings and them being actual emotions,
correct.
I think there's a range of neutral where you feel the momentum of things going well, but you don't allow it to push you to a place where you overextend.
Is momentum real?
It's mental.
Momentum.
Do you believe in momentum?
Momentum is real. 1,000%. Momentum is real because you feel it.
It's not neutral,
right?
Like that. That's people that are not living in neutral then. Right.
So I think
I'm just curious, and breaking it down. Right.
Russell Wilson said, "Okay, I threw an interception. I can't allow that to affect my next pass."
Yep.
So I think when you look at Rory, okay, I put it in the water. How do I get back to neutral to do that?
Yep.
Okay, but holistically, he did look.
Where does that dog come from?
Well, when he misses the putt on 18,
I would tell you.
I don't know about you. Everybody in the world must have just gone, oh shit.
Do you guys?
I for sure thought he was broken, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, we're never going to see Rory McIlroy again.
If you don't think caddies are important, and if you don't think the guys standing next to or coaches aren't important, if
This
you
is a
don't
good
know
validation.
what his caddy says to him, who is his longtime friend, if you watch Rory's post game speech or post round speech, he goes, "This is as much his as this is mine."
Yep.
Right. So if you how big they are, but he looks at him and he goes, "All right, pal, we would have taken this on Monday."
Yep.
Right. And
that's neutral.
That's
getting
but
back
that's a guy who, in my opinion, and we talked about this with Dan Hurley, needs to be neutral.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
In a game where, or when somebody is playing a game and it's really emotional, right? Who is there to kind of pull you back a little bit or pull you up a little bit? And that's where my problem
there's a
with neutral
really
comes.
important point we need to make inside of this conversation, which is just because we say neutral doesn't mean I'm monotone. Just because I say neutral doesn't mean I don't feel the momentum or feel the negativity.
Right.
As Jovac would tell you, I just don't allow it to take me out of the process that I need to go through in order to be successful. We've all been around the guys who get so fired up running out of the tunnel and have so much juice that they don't even know what to do on the first play of the game. Right? Like
the college
you allow the emotion to take you out of the execution.
Fair.
Being in neutral means I'm not going to allow the emotion to take me too far forward, to overextend, and I'm not going to allow the negativity to pull me into reverse to cause more negative outcomes.
So I love that, because when you look at sales, and I wrote about this, my biggest defeat when I did not get this gigantic deal, in that moment, I could have allowed my emotion to take over and make it all about me. I said, what do I do next?
Yep.
You know, and that what do you do next is a neutral move.
And that's also true.
Right.
So, like, if you look at Nick Saban's career, right, something he said publicly now, having been removed from his career and in TV, is that he sort of regrets not enjoying those championships a little bit more. He looks back and goes, I never really took the moment to just enjoy it, even for 24 hours, because I was so worried about the next recruiting class and the next step that we had to take. It's not that you should never feel any of it. You just can't allow it to alter your behavior. So when you discipline yourself to the process of behaviors that lead to success, you feel momentum.
So I got a question for both of you guys. Is there crying in golf?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I cried with him yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's unique because and we were talking about this, like, he's one of the very few athletes in my memory where they've just reached the expectation of what was expected of them.
Sure.
Right? Like, for me, LeBron coming in the NBA, I was a kid, you know, but
expected to be Michael Jordan immediately.
Expected to be the GOAT and be the number 1A. Most of the athletes don't come in or don't achieve
with that expectation,
right? Like Tiger was one of them and lived up to everyone. Rory, so happened in this last 20 years that we've seen two golfers really live up. The Messis, the guys that, you know, and watching him win. And I love the Nike commercial was like, it's been waiting for you,
right?
You know, and it wasn't like it. We looked at him and went, wow, he's actually good enough to win it, because everyone knew he was good enough to win it. And I don't know, is it wrong that we base it on results when, if he never won a Masters, was his career a failure? No, but you know.
So there are accolades push you to a place, right? Like, there's plenty of really good football coaches out there that have won lots of games that aren't looked at like Nick Saban because they didn't win as many championships. Same for Bill Belichick, right? Like, at some point, the results will create a perception for you and define you in other people's minds. I think that's the whole point of what we're talking about today, is that if you allow results to define you, you will not succeed. You will not maintain success.
Well, there's a lot of athletes. Dan Marino, it's going through his head. He never won it.
Because if Rory would have allowed the last 11 or 14 or 16 years to define him, no way he ever wins a Masters.
I mean, when he was up 4 or 5 strokes, I think everybody thought, oh my God, he's going to just
cruise control
this whole thing. And then, oh my God, we're tied. The tension for me, I'm not even in it, man. The tension for me was so incredible. I think this brought more people to golf.
For sure.
I think, that they're like, Helen was into it. She was like, wow, I never knew it was like this. And I go, it's not usually, he's won tournaments by 8 strokes. It's not the same.
It was for sure a big win for golf, just in terms of viewership and creating a really exciting conversation.
The reality is we want to see both tours go at each other, right?
For sure.
Figure it out. The best golfers are on both tours. Clearly, they exist on both tours,
which would be the ultimate AFC, NFC. Right?
The story that nobody is really talking about that I think is worth talking about in terms of performance is Justin Rose. Justin Rose goes in to Saturday with the lead, right? Number 1 on the board. Loses that lead and also could have just gone in the tank, and then comes out on Saturday. And when Rory's at -14, doesn't matter. I'm just going to keep playing. Yeah. I'm just going to keep shooting, and gets a birdie on 18 to get to -11 to say, hey, I've done everything I could possibly do to win this tournament. The power of consistency and just staying in and playing on display for you right there.
I totally agree. And I think the other thing is you play to the level of competition around you. Like if Rory had, who was he playing with?
Bryson. If Bryson was playing better.
If Bryson was playing better, I think you rise to that. But he saw this guy.
One more thing. Bryson made a comment about it, and I didn't find anything wrong with it. Historically, Tiger has done the same thing, but Bryson said that Rory didn't say anything to him all day other than the initial handshake. And the reporter then pushed back and said, well, did you try? And Bryson went, he wasn't going to talk to me. Right. That was, and I'm curious your thoughts on that. Or
so first of all, shout out to Gabby, because I got Gabby into golf yesterday, and she actually asked me that question, like, do they talk to each other?
It's a great question.
And I was like, it depends, right? Like, it really depends on who you are and how you play the game. Bryson has specifically taken a stance that he is not going to be that cold, closed golfer. He tried to be that, he said, and that's not who he naturally is. So he's this outgoing guy, and Rory has to be that guy in order to be able to perform. He said specifically, I have to stay in my bubble. I have to stay within my own bubble and focus on what I can control in order to be successful. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Right?
It's a solo sport, man. You're in the game yourself. You have to stay in the game mentally.
And I don't know
that conversation. I think
you just got to find the best way to perform.
And maybe it's just me because of how I look at golf, but I almost feel like if you're talking on the course in that level of competition, it almost feels disrespectful to me as like a competitor. Like, golf is hard enough, bro. Like, I don't need you trying to talk to me
on like a Thursday and Friday. I'm talking.
Yeah.
Or right. Saturday.
Once we make the cut and we're in it, like, time to go to. We're really in grind mode now,
5
right?
shots, we're 8 shots off on a Sunday.
1,000%.
Great episode.
So back to the original question of the show, which is, does your previous performance affect your future performance?
And my final answer is that in the game, right, it can't, but after the game it should. That's what history.
I love it.
I loved history.
Yeah.
So
you have to use it or you lose it. Right. So
only if you let it. Only if you let it. Great episode. Thanks for joining us. Remember to like, comment, and share, and we will see you next time. Thanks for finding the edge.